Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome GBTA Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer, Mike McCormack.
Good morning. Good morning. Just over 1 year ago, my guest today was named CEO of one of the world's leading airlines. This is his first time on the GBTA stage, so go easy on him. And here to discuss a wide range of issues impacting the business travel marketplace. So without further ado, from Delta Airlines, please welcome Mr. Ed Bastian.
Thank you. We got our own little cheering club here. I like that. That's good. Go Delta.
Mr. Bastian, first I want to talk about your employee morale problem. They clearly don't like you. Anyway, so let's dig right into it. So I just watched a video yesterday that you starred in. It was about an advocacy issue I think you're really passionate about, and it's about the Gulf carriers and open skies. So why don't we dig right in? Tell me a little bit about your views on that.
Well, first and foremost, we are pro-open skies. Let's be really clear about this. We've had over 100 open sky treaties in this country. Delta did the very first open sky through Northwest, our legacy company.
That's right.
Together with KLM 25 years ago. Very proud of that.
Yeah, they're pioneers.
Pioneers. We created it. And we also did the most recent one together with Aeromexico in terms of getting the Mexican government and the U.S. government together and making certain. So we are huge advocates of open skies. But open skies is not a substitute for free skies. It's got to be fair. The treaty says that no government should be interfering in the actual free trade that goes on between the two countries. And while there's been a lot of rhetoric, and we could spend the next 20 minutes talking about the topic, I won't. So I'm sure you would agree. But the reality is that this is an issue for the future of our U.S. industry. And when you look at what's happened to the European carriers, when you look at what's happened in Asia, particularly to Cathay and Singapore, and you look at the amount of aircraft that are on order from these large companies, subsidized by their governments. These are not airlines, these are government agencies, as I look at it. It's something that our government needs to look into, weigh into, and make certain, is this in America's best interest? And we're united with both American and United Airlines on this. We've got our employees together, and we want our day to have the government fully analyzed and come to a resolution.
Yeah, so even in Politico, it was reported that the administration, aside from looking at this issue, was even potentially looking at taking further steps to have a more protectionism, kind of approach to our airline industry. Do you see that are you in favor of that? Or
no,
really
not at all.
Enforce the agreements that
This is not protectionism.
Yeah.
This is enforcing the agreement. This is enforcing the law.
Right.
Why is that so hard to understand? Right? Why is it hard to understand?
Right. Well, apparently with this government, and previously before, it's been an issue. It's one that's been on the table for years, right?
It has been on the table for years, and we need a government to take a serious look at it. And from my vantage point, when you see what's happening, and the most recent Qatar Airways trying to buy American Airlines. Qatar Airlines is one of the worst performing financial airlines in the world, as some media just recently reported. And the notion that they somehow could come up with $2 billion to have the government of Qatar buy American Airlines, somebody's got to pay attention. So anyway, we're passionate about it. We think it's in everyone in this room's interest that there be a free and open debate on the topic, and that our interests are aligned collectively to make certain that from the U.S. standpoint, everyone's given a chance to compete fairly. And we are confident we can compete with anyone when given an equal chance. Okay? And you did that in like 3 minutes, so usually it takes me at least 20 minutes to get that out, so that's a good one.
So you mentioned your kind of investments in other carriers, and you've been upping the stakes in those carriers. So how do you reconcile that versus participation in alliances like SkyTeam? What's the future hold in the next 3 to 5 years on that front?
Well, the alliances provide an umbrella framework, focusing on things like loyalty, things, whether it's our opportunity through Sky Priority to be able to get easier access and gating through the airport systems. But the reality is for us to make a significant step forward to eliminating the seams between our airlines, we've got to invest with the customer in mind. And for Delta, that's been making investments in Aeromexico or Virgin Atlantic, allowing us the opportunity to create the technology that's going to make certain that customers are provided with that seamless experience that we need to provide them with. So it's much easier to do on a bilateral basis than under a larger umbrella framework where SkyTeam, while SkyTeam is great, it has 20 carriers, and it's very difficult to continually make certain they're all investing in the same manner.
So you focus on key markets for that level of investment, and then let the alliances serve the role in the rest?
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
We happen to believe that making investments in these carriers gives you access into the boardroom, and then you can have greater influence on your collective futures. But we're not exclusively making investments. We just signed a very, very significant joint venture agreement with Korean Air, where Delta and Korean will have created the world's largest trans-Pacific network when we get ATI hopefully approved next year, and it's going to be a big news certainly from the Delta standpoint in terms of our customers.
So let's shift gears to the kind of geopolitical environment today, and certainly the world we live in. Security, duty of care, just utmost. Recently, we've all read about the limited electronics ban, and certainly the concern on our industry's behalf that might be expanded and everyone would be under that type of ban. Point of view, perspective on the need for it, Delta's view on what happens if that becomes the next step.
Well, I've got to give credit to Secretary Kelly and the Department of Homeland Security. They've taken a very serious look at the risks.
Yep.
I had a discussion with the Secretary a couple of months ago, and after that conversation, I was convinced it was going to be a very serious electronic ban.
The threat was
proposed,
real.
And with the help of our European colleagues, together with the U.S. Airlines, engaging together with Homeland Security and understanding where the real risk sits, I think they've come up with a workable solution around explosive trace, and that's going to be rolled out, and we're all going to be safer.
Well, and again, the challenges continue. A little bit on Delta's duty care philosophy, your approach to it as a company and with your employees.
Well, certainly from a safety standpoint, that's number one.
Right.
At always, and it's almost that we don't even talk about it. It's such a given in our hierarchy. From a security standpoint, we're working closely with the agencies around the globe, and we get a lot of information, we get a lot of intel, and we do our very best to make certain we're safe in all times.
So let's move on to another issue that is out there, and certainly one we've been taking a really active stand on, and that's air traffic control and the proposal to privatize air traffic control here in the U.S. Is an attempt to move it into a nonprofit structure that will allow the investment that's needed. I don't think there's anybody that disagrees with the fact it needs to be modernized. It's just how do you get there?
That's right.
And your predecessor was, let's say, more skeptical of the privatization kind of approach or proposal at the time, and you just recently came out and decided to get behind it. What prompted that, and what's your view?
Well, we're not philosophically opposed to privatization. What we are, I'd like to say what we're in favor of, which is having a structure and a mechanism to actually implement the modernization and the probably $30 to $50 billion price tag that's going to require over the next 10 to 15 years to implement. You need a governance structure, you need foresight, you need funding mechanisms. We need to stop politicizing the air traffic control systems and actually start thinking about customers and our airport communities and our airlines in terms of how we better serve them. And I don't know if privatization is a better approach or not, but the reality, that's the issue. And if we can all get behind the governance that's going to be required to bring the key stakeholders together, provide the transparency so we can see what's happening with a commitment that it's not going to grow our cost. You can call it anything you want. You can call it modernization, you can call it privatization. That's what we'd be in favor of.
Well, I think we're on the same page on that, absolutely. And with that, I mean, I think the proposal, at least where it stands, it sounds like we're going in the right direction. To your point, we know what we have, and it's not working.
Right.
And a lot of money's been spent, and we're basically still at the starting blocks.
We are huge proponents of the president's agenda to modernize the air traffic control system. This is the only game in town in terms of moving things forward from where we sit, and we are 100% behind it.
That's great. So let's go on to service. Certainly over the last months, we've had seemingly every headline, every day, every week seems to be another small issue here, large issue here in terms of airline service, incidents, et cetera. And even in April, when the last measurement of the DOT statistics seemed to spike up in terms of complaints and issues, what's your perspective? How does Delta look at this in the face of all this that's happening, and certainly all the social media? How do you handle it within your airline?
Well, first of all, you got to think of the big picture. Our service, our reliability, the performance of our airline has never been better. And it's not by a small amount, it's by a large amount. Our Net Promoter Scores are at all-time highs and getting better. We do have challenges. We had our weather event in April in Atlanta, and that spiked the complaints. I'm glad to say we just got our June Net Promoter Scores, and we hit an all-time record high for June. So the customers are seeing that we've got their back, and we're doing our very best. Our reliability last year in 2016, we had 241 days of the year without a cancellation on the main line, 4 times better than all of the other big competitors of ours combined. So so this issue to me is a large part is driven by the social media vogue, where everyone that's on board now is an amateur videographer. And no matter what's happening, you're on camera, and people can draw attention to their individual issues. We have to deal with it. That's our reality as we know it. I have full faith and confidence in the people of Delta Airlines. We're always on stage. Okay, we've been on stage generally in front of 200 people, in a cabin or at a gate.
Right.
Now we have the risk of being on stage in front of 200 million people, if something goes viral. And we have to continually think about what's the best way to take care of a situation, what's the best way to take care of a customer, making certain we're taking care of the customer the way we'd want to be treated, and we'll be fine. The rules of the road, the values of this company are strong, and it's in our DNA, and I have no doubt the Delta people will do a great job every time they're given that opportunity.
So step back for a minute. Let's talk about you personally. So you've been with Delta how many years in total?
It'll be 19 in October.
So you're pushing on 20 years.
Pushing on 20 years.
What role did you start in when you started with the company?
I started in the finance organization. I was the company controller, so I got to see the finances first.
And
you would have thought that would have driven me away.
Yeah, I guess over that.
I like a challenge.
Over that 19 years, it's been some ups, a roller coaster for sure, right?
It's been rewarding. You talk about seeing a cycle. We've seen a full cycle from going through the depths of the restructuring process and the bankruptcy and almost losing our company to where we are today, arguably one of the very best, I think the very best airlines in the globe.
You're a little biased, but yeah.
And I'm proud of our people, because what we were able to do was recapture the spirit of the company. And if you don't have that to begin with, you can never go reclaim it.
Right.
And we went through our bumps, and we went through a difficult time back 15 years ago, but we were able to go back and touch the people, let them know what happened, that it wasn't their fault, it was the management's fault. The management got the company in trouble, not the employees.
Right.
They are the best asset, not what they were made to feel like at the time as a big cost. And let them serve by putting the tools and the reliability and the systems in place to do a great job. We talk about our reliability as if it just rolls off the tongue. This is 10 years of work with predictive technology and maintenance technology and all the things that's required to run a truly great operation. It doesn't happen overnight. And so we sit on the shoulders of people that have built that great framework. And once you put your people, our people, the Delta people, in position to serve, no one does it better. But the underlying fabric of all that, the foundation, is making certain that you provide them the tools, the equipment, the product that they can serve with. And It's magical what can happen.
So do you think when you started out, did you ever envision you'd be in this chair, in this room?
No, gosh, no. I've had the pleasure of speaking at a couple of college commencements, including my daughter's. And I tell the kids, you never know where things are going to take you, to be open to opportunities. When I graduated from college, I never even had stepped foot on an airplane at that point.
Wow.
I was 25 years old before we grew up a modest background. We couldn't afford, we got a station wagon and drove to Florida for our 1 week a year vacation from New York. And that was my background. I had no idea, but it's an honor to be here. It really is.
So for Delta, looking out, 5 years from now, what's the future hold for Delta? What are you focused on? What's the long range plan?
Well, a couple things. The people are going to continue to be rewarded and supported, and that's always number one for us. Number two, we're going to accelerate our globalization. The investments that you've seen us make in Mexico recently, in Brazil, in London, in China, you're going to see more. And we're going to be bringing our global networks closer together. This is a unique strategy that we're on, and I'm confident that it's not just 5 or 10, but it's going to pay dividends 20 and 30 years from now as we continue to expand our network of family of airline companies, and I'm really excited about that. A large part of that is making certain that we're bringing our staff into local markets and bringing our local employees up to Atlanta and other places so that we have a cross mix of culture and learning with rich diversity of experience. It's really powerful when you think about where we're headed. And I'd say the third thing we're focused on is technology. Technology, I'll be honest, technology for us this past few years has been a vulnerability. And we need to turn it into a competitive advantage. I believe it's a competitive advantage. We're not all the way there yet. We're going to have our new data center opened in September in Alpharetta, Georgia, so that issue we had a year ago with the outage is never going to recur.
Yep.
We're going to be able to continue to then build on the reliability and the tools for digital technology and be able to put our people closer to customers. And we think about Delta, we serve 200 million customers a year. Our goal is to be close to our customers, to anticipate their needs, to understand what they want before they know what they want.
Yep.
Technology is the only way you can do that. And with our legacy environment, with some of the vulnerabilities we've experienced, we're going to invest $500 million in technology this year alone to try to get there. And so that, to me, second to our people, technology is our competitive strength.
Yeah, along those lines, with the, big part of this room relies and works in, the distribution system, and certainly the corporate customers here rely on it. Some of your competitors have, taken more of a stance of, almost incenting the direct access, bypassing the distribution system. What's Delta's role on that?
Well, we've invested heavily in our website, delta.com.
Right.
For us, one of the challenges we faced back 15 years ago is that we were one of the first industries that was commoditized by the internet.
Yep.
You think about it, right? Pricing became immediately transparent, and as a result, price was always the determinant in terms of travel. We can't win as a commodity provider. We provide service, we provide value. We need to be able to charge for value delivered and make certain that our customers see us as a premium airline, not a commodity player. And as a result of that, you need to personalize the experience. And that's why we've invested heavily in our products, in our value proposition, and thus be able to move to our travel partners, our distribution partners, the ability for them to merchandise us not only on price, but on product qualities too, and differentiate. And we're not in a carrot and stick approach, which whether the Europeans or some of the others are doing. We believe in the ecosystem. Steve Sear mentioned that word today. I like that, the distribution ecosystem.
Yep.
We're willing to partner and want to partner with all of our distribution partners, and we're doing that with the GDSs, and we're making headway. But it's been tough to get the technology built. We're ready, and hopefully the more that we can incent our distribution partners to be able to, the better position we're able to sell Delta, the better they're going to do and the better we're going to do.
So, final question. So for everybody here, if you had to leave them with kind of maybe one thought about, and one thing to remember from our time today about Delta, about you, or even the marketplace, the floor is yours. What do you say?
I'd say it's all about our people. It's our competitive strength. We like to say at Delta, we all have in our industry many of the same tools available, whether it's airplanes or technology or the airports that we fly to. The only truly distinctive thing about an airline is its people. And that's what I'm most proud of, the culture of Delta, and that's what we'll always invest in to make certain they're there for our customers.
It's great. Ladies and gentlemen, CEO of Delta Airlines, Mr. Ed Bastian.
Thank you.
So, it's your fan club again, Ed. So up next, don't go anywhere, a lively discussion, as it always is, with CNN's Richard Quest. We'll be right back. Thank you.